je vous disais tout à l'heure, nous aurons le plaisir d'avoir Christophe de Margerie qui va vous saluer et faire un discours de clôture de cette rencontre. Mais tout de suite, je vous demande d'accueillir Danielle Fong. Big round of applause for Danielle Fong, who's come all the way from the States. Danielle, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Let me introduce you first of all. You are 26 years old. You're co-founder of LightSail Energy, and you've been featured already at the age of 26 in Forbes 30 under 30 in the energy category. And you were named by the MIT Technology Review as one of the top 35 innovators under 35. So a lot of figures. You entered university at the age of 12, where you graduated at 7, well, indeed, wow, 12 ans. Where you graduated at 17 when you entered Princeton University as a PhD student, and then later you dropped out. So it's quite an amazing CV you have, and I think it's going to be very inspirational for us all to listen to what innovation is about. To you, you're an entrepreneur, an inventor, a writer, a scientist, and you've dedicated yourself to the technological development needed for the world's energy transition. I'll stop introducing you so you can talk yourself. Big round of applause. Thank you very much. You've come all the way from the States to be with us.
Hello, everyone. I was asked to speak before this esteemed audience, and I was asked to share lots of anecdotes from my life and to try to talk about what innovation was really about, share my choices and how I made them, share my courage. This caused me to take stock of my life. I mean, really, where am I? I'm 26. I've started this company, LightSail Energy, which I think is one of the most promising energy storage companies. But what is that? Why? How did I get here? I think it's an interesting story. It's certainly unusual. But maybe it'll be an important one, because there should be a lot of others like me. There should be hundreds, if not thousands, of energy entrepreneurs my age working to speed this energy transition. Now's the time. We know that there's a great climate challenge before us, and also that the world's economies are really hampered by the fact that we will have increasingly strict and expensive controls on energy. Energy is life. So the way I ended up here, the algorithm that I ran to end up starting a company at age 20, focusing on energy storage and choosing compressed air as the energy storage medium, may contain within it some lessons for other entrepreneurs. Hopefully, many within your companies. And together we can help develop the technology to make this energy transition possible. So I thought about how I ended up here. Lots of times when articles introduce me, they speak about how I dropped out of junior high school. This story is literally true. I determined that school was not really meant, at least at that time in Canada, for education, and more to keep teenagers and children out of the hair of their parents. I wondered if the school doors were literally unlocked. I checked, and they were, and I ran and hid behind a tree. I was convinced that there would be someone out there checking to see if anyone would escape, but there wasn't, and I walked back the rest of the way to my home, and I never went back. And the reason I never went back is because I thought I could find better education elsewhere, in books, at home, and eventually at university, where I was very lucky to have the parents that I did. They had me write the test that I needed to get into college at an early age. Now, the thing about this is not that I was capable of handling college at 12. I assume lots of other kids would be able to. I mean, if you really think about it, going to college at 12 instead of college at 18, there's a difference in maturity, but lots of kids are more mature than others at a different age. And 12 versus 18, I mean, that's only learning maybe at a 50% faster rate than others. Really, the difference is that I decided that school was not the place where I was going to get the answers, that I needed to do the things that I wanted to do. I didn't know that there was a better place out there, really, but I assumed that there could be, and so I decided to start looking. I knew that there could be something better. I knew what was valuable, my own education, and so I went for it. Now, this sort of dynamic, leaving something that doesn't quite seem right, and then focusing on finding a better way, repeats itself over and over and over again in my life. And it starts out as simple curiosity. I wonder if the doors are unlocked, or I wonder what would happen if you could store energy in compressed air efficiently. And why does everybody assume that compressed air has to be inefficient? And it turns into, over time, a increasing notion of possibility, of something valuable. And increasingly, you realize that what you've spotted, what you're pursuing, is something that's possibly truly unique. And, maybe what you're doing is not only possible for you to do, maybe it's not only valuable to you, but to the rest of the world, but also maybe, just maybe, you're the only one in the world that is going to do it. This is the strange position that I found myself in with LightSail Energy. So where we are, by the way, is we have essentially built a industrial scale prototype of our technology. We can compress at very high speeds, very high compression ratios. And for most of the process, but not all, the temperature doesn't rise very much. We're rapidly making improvements in that area, and pretty soon we'll be able to have a round-trip efficiency of at least 50%. We're aiming at 60% for our first pilot, and ultimately 70% is what we think the technology will be capable of. But the other thing that we're doing is we're conceiving of the problem in a different way. We believe that if you have renewable energy plus energy storage, that it can provide power on demand at a lower cost than conventionally based fossil fuel technology in certain locations, wherever there's enough sun or enough wind. When that happens, the economics completely change. You can transform the world with this. You can replace inefficient, ineffective peaker plants with renewable energy plus energy storage. If you do that and you can make it economical enough, then there's no more limit on renewable energy penetration, at least in those areas where you have sufficient solar and sufficient wind. I want to share an example of how I ended up going to energy in the first place, and then how I started LightSail. It's a bit of a rambling story, but I hope people will find some solace in it, because I didn't know all of the answers at the beginning. I just explored and hoped that there would be an answer and kept looking for it until something was well enough formed that we could pursue it as a company. So I was asked by my professor, who was wondering what I would be doing if I had thought about graduate school. And I thought about the problems of my generation, and immediately energy came up. I knew that nuclear fusion was a possible answer to our energy problems forever. So I went and applied to the best program in the world, I thought at the time, in fusion energy. I was very excited. But the challenge was that it just wasn't going to be fast enough to make an impact in the timeframes that I cared about, for the ecosystems that I cared about. The best case scenario that mainstream projections had were that fusion would come online in 2030 at best, scientifically, and possibly reach commercialization in 2050. I really believed that the war on reducing the climate change potential that we have would have been lost by that time. So I left graduate school and I started trying to create my own source of capital so I could fund what I believe the right energy research was. It didn't take long for me to realize that there were already people who had done that. People like our investors, Vinod Khosla and Bill Gates and Peter Thiel and Total. So when I came up with this concept of doing energy storage with compressed air, it seemed quite exciting. Certainly it would be low cost, and air compressors last a long time, unlike batteries which operate by controlled corrosion. Very hard to control corrosion, so they don't last a long time. But everyone was saying that it was inefficient. And I tried to get down to the fundamentals of why that was so. And it turned out not to be friction or 1,000 different problems. There was just that one problem. Whenever you compress air, it heats up. Hotter air reaches a higher pressure. And then when you lose that temperature because it's so hot, you lose pressure and you lose energy. So what you want is for the air to be as cold as possible during compression and as warm as possible during expansion. So with a fine water mist, you can rapidly extract heat from the air compression, and then you can reintroduce that heat during expansion. But I didn't come up with that idea all at once. I assumed that one might be able to find the solution if one thought enough. Everybody was saying that it would be impossible to achieve close to isothermal compression and expansion unless you had an infinite number of stages. So you'd compress, and then you would cool down, and you'd compress, and you'd cool down. And I had recently learned of using water spray to cool off air during, after compression to dehumidify it. When you dehumidify air, the water vapor inside it condenses. And I thought, wow, that's funny. They're dehumidifying air by spraying a fine water mist. Why would you dehumidify air, remove water from it, by spraying water into the air? The only reason that would make sense is if it's a great heat exchanger, and that makes sense. Now, this is already an industrially used process. Can't I just take that and put it inside the air compressor itself? Remarkably, many people thought that this was impossible. They said that there would be huge challenges with corrosion, actually. If you choose the right materials, for example, the materials that are used in steam engines, there isn't a problem. They assumed there would be a problem called hydrolock. This is a common problem in reciprocating engines where water fills up and the cylinder head blows off because the valves are closed when the piston goes up and it tries to squish the water, and water is close to incompressible, and it just blows the cylinder head off. But that's not a problem in a compressor. The valves are open during that time. The water just pushes out. In fact, it works just like a reciprocating water pump. We had that complaint from so many government organizations and so many professors that were doing due diligence. So what we decided that we had to do with the first money that we raised is that we would prove it. We would take the shortest path to making this idea from the realm of theory to the realm of the experimentally possible. This was Steve Crane's idea. We took an off-the-shelf natural gas compressor and we modified it, and we demonstrated within a year that this process was not only viable mechanically, but it was extremely efficient thermodynamically. So once we had taken this important step, we were in a position to really think about the markets that we were going to tackle. You know, where is energy needed most? And today, that's really equal to the question, where is fuel the most expensive? And there are so many locations where getting fuel to there is too expensive. Remote locations, islands, military bases. And then it expands from there. Where is fuel most expensive? Well, fuel's quite expensive in Europe. Fuel's very expensive in Asia, the rapidly growing economies in Asia. So when you take renewable energy and you figure out the equation for economic superiority with energy storage versus the fossil fuel equivalent, and you can say this is the path that we're going to take from being at the cost that we're currently at. Our first prototype is about 3 times the cost that we think will make the breakthrough, and making a industrial enhancement in our cost through volume production. We really bring that into the realm of a valuable product that only we have been able to put together. Now, I guess I've run out of time here, but I want to end on a note that, you know, this is a path that we've taken, and we would be lying to say that we knew all of the steps that we had to take right from the get-go. It started with pure curiosity, and it turned into a company, and that turned into a mission to transform the world's electricity grids. But many other people and many other organizations can make it too. And what it's really about, I think, is finding something that you think is valuable, and you think is possible, and that you think you can make a difference in. And then moving forward, even though you don't know all of the answers, but because you believe in it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for coming all the way over to meet us. I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people with your incredible CV and your ideas about innovation. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. Thank you once again, Danielle. Right, just 1 or 2 words before we pass to the conclusion with Ms. de Margerie. When you leave the room, if you could give your headphones, si vous pouvez apporter vos casques quand vous allez partir dans quelques instants, il y aura un cocktail après. Mais nous allons conclure tout de suite avec Christophe de Margerie à la fin de notre journée. Merci beaucoup.
D'abord, un grand merci, Daniel, pour être venu ce soir. Un grand merci de m'avoir fait comprendre que Nova Scotia et Halifax, ce n'était pas au Québec, et que si tu voulais qu'on se comprenne, il fallait que je passe à l'anglais. So I will switch to English, which is, for us, in Europe, Esperanto. Well, I mean, first I would like to thank all the speakers who have been participating to this university. They were coming from all horizons, from different countries. Unfortunately, I was not able to participate, but I've heard that the debate has been intensive, bringing some different views, different opinions, which is not what we want, but what is needed. And I am pleased to come, not at the end, because I hate conclusion, but at the end of the day to exchange with you what are the views of Total on this energy mix transition. In certain countries they call it the band, but definitely something which we need to do in common and as much as we can, without fights, without controversy, even if it's not always easy. So thanks to all the speakers. Thanks to all also who are there to listen to the speakers, and I hope to exchange with them. And again, Danielle, something special for you. You are an impressive person. You told me just behind the scene that you were stressed. But we all are stressed, even if nobody thinks we are. But I'm even more stressed to talk after you, because you are bringing something which is not only words, but facts, success, and even worse for me, use. Which means you have still a lot of time to bring us some additional invention, innovation, and technology. And thank you for the light. And thank you for all of you, because I'm sure you prefer to see Danielle than I. But I told you just, it's my stupid way, we have not yet had the time to exchange more. But I told you, what can you do for my hair? And I was thinking of something industrial, even with biomass or whatever. And the only answer I got, I could change them into green. But I think that the green was the color. So that was innovation, but not innovation in terms of technology. And thank you, because at least I know we have something in common. Not the shoes, unfortunately for me, but the sense of what innovation is. Innovation is not only technology, it's not only research and development, it's a way of behaving, it's a culture, it's an approach, and you have it. And for us, you are a model. I was asked to say that I'm pleased to be able to give you more light without playing with words in part of the world where you are not as known as some others, but you are. With internet, with all of those communication systems, you are already much more than any of us. And I'm just pleased that you are with us. Not to make you more known, you are, and you have all the time, if it was not yet what it is. There is something special in what you're doing, which is part of what we wish to do, is to help this transition. And usually in those university sessions, I'm not behind the desk like this. We say in Quebec, un pupitre. In France, un pupitre. Sometimes we have the same words. Not always. But what is more important is, it's true that when you have to deliver something which is a little bit more than just exchanging with you, which would have been my preference. You know, usually when you have sofa like this in here, you have a TV emission, whatever the word is, like Michel Drucker, and we see it and exchange, Q&A, etc. I was not allowed to do this. They were scared, probably, that we would enter into a too much intelligent conversation. But I have to make the conclusion of this day and to talk about the view of Total on what is energy transition, what is our wish to deliver energy to our customers, to our clients, because that's our first goal, and that is what we call sustainability in Total. It's not only to please people, it's first to bring energy to our customers in a better way, the way you are doing it. And that's why to do this, I've been asked to switch to French. Don't think there is any link with transition, but there is a link with sometimes in your own country, you have to use the words which are better known, better understood by most people. And it will be translated, and in any case, messages, when they are simple, usually, they are easy to translate, except with me. French. Je crois que ce qui est important dans ce que nous avons voulu faire aujourd'hui, c'est de partager un message sur il y a un vrai problème. Il y a un vrai problème de changement climatique. J'ai d'ailleurs beaucoup aimé qu'on change dans notre jargon de global warming, réchauffement à changement. Non pas que l'un soit mieux que l'autre, mais l'un est beaucoup plus large, parce que le changement, ça veut dire que plein de choses bougent, pas que la température. Malheureusement aussi, quand on dit changement, c'est qu'on ne comprend pas, et c'est un peu ça notre problème. et que nous, en tant que société énergétique, en tant que société qui produit du pétrole et du gaz et encore du charbon, et puis qui est intéressée par la manière de pouvoir développer d'autres formes d'énergie qui permettent de moins polluer la planète sous une forme d'émissions de CO2, et donc le fait qu'on se soit lancé de manière forte sur ce qu'on appelle la biomasse de deuxième ou troisième génération et sur le solaire, c'est beaucoup plus de rentrer dans un débat public, sociétal, je dis responsable, de oui, nous sommes responsables d'émissions de CO2, on sait, c'est notre métier, oui, on l'assume parce qu'on n'a pas le choix, mais on l'assume en le faisant mieux. Et puis quand on a en plus la chance de pouvoir faire d'autres choses, de participer grâce à notre recherche et développement à quelque chose qui permettrait de pouvoir apporter de l'énergie de manière plus efficace, de manière plus propre, nous le faisons. Mais d'abord, notre première priorité, c'est clairement d'apporter notre énergie traditionnelle, la fossile, l'huile et le gaz, à nos clients et de manière plus efficace. Et je dirais que pour commencer, oui, notre premier engagement, c'est d'augmenter nos productions. Notre premier engagement, c'est 1,3 milliard d'habitants. On n'arrive jamais à savoir, c'est terrible d'ailleurs, à 200 ou 300 millions près, s'il y a 1,3, 1,5 ou 2 milliards d'habitants sur cette planète qui n'ont pas accès à l'électricité, ou en tout cas pas accès à l'électricité de manière acceptable, et qu'en plus il y a, paraît-il, 2 milliards d'habitants supplémentaires qui vont venir nous rejoindre d'ici 2050, bien étant responsable d'une grande entreprise qui apporte de l'énergie, notre premier rôle, n'en déplaise à certains, c'est d'en apporter plus et pas moins. Mais ce n'est pas toujours facile à faire passer comme message. Et donc on a besoin de personnalités comme vous, non pas pour faire passer la pilule, non pas pour nous rendre plus sympathiques, mais simplement pour qu'on explique que, en fait, nos métiers sont complémentaires. Et tout à l'heure, je vous écoutais dire que vous étiez contente qu'on vous ait aidé dans le lancement de cette société LightSail Energy. Le problème de Total, c'est qu'il n'est pas light, il n'est pas sail, mais qu'il est énergie. Donc on a quand même bien un point en commun. Vous avez parlé de Bill Gates à un moment, et Bill Gates, c'était Bill Gates and Total. Sound of the voice. Wow. And Total. Just a joke. Because we are in the same boat. We try to be lighter, but it's not easy. So first, our first goal is to increase the production of fossil energies. I was at the IEA meeting last week, and I was confronted with, let's call them Green Party representatives, on this fossil energy, not target, but forecast we see for 2030, 2035. And we say, not only us, that it will be difficult to make it less by that time than still 75 fossil energy. And if we move, as we're doing, total 2035, this 75 moves from 75 to 74. And it's considered by many people as insufficient. 5 years, only 1% less. It's a tremendous effort. It's a tremendous effort in terms of acceptability by those who are going to pay for it, which mean the consumers. And we have to discuss this matter, which is part of the transition. The transition is not only a problem of moving from fossil energies to renewables, it's moving from people who would like also to accept to pay a price for getting access to energy, which is not ruin their life and ruin the economy. And we are caught in the middle of this debate. But that's life. It's our role. We cannot refuse it. We cannot just say, no, we just care about producing. we don't care about what is the result on the planet. We have to tackle both parts. At the same time, it's true we are much more responsible for the part which is linked with production. Knowing at the same time that sometimes figures are important, and that's why you don't even need the papers, because you know them by heart, that we are responsible, Total and other companies, for a lot of those emissions. At the same time, out of what we are sending in the planet, 85% of it is in fact the responsibility of our clients, which means, yes, we pollute when we produce petroleum products with refineries, when we produce base chemicals, polymers in our petrochemical plants. At the same time, those who are really at the end responsible of emissions are the clients. So we could very well say, well, that is their problem. It's not our problem. At the end, we are not so much responsible. But we are responsible of the chain, we like it or not. So we need not only to reduce, as we are, the emission. I switched to English, no? You see, that's the way it is, because in our world, it's true that Esperanto is a language we use usually for explaining what we are doing. Who is in charge of this? Shall I go back to French or not? Or it's too late? Help. English. We cannot just escape also to be responsible of what our clients are doing with our products, being in the chemicals, being in the any kind of products coming from fossil energies. But as far as we have this possibility to invest, thanks to R&D in other sources, renewables, and that's where we're getting closer to what you're doing. That's why one way for us to be just efficient, not to reduce emission, but efficient in helping those who are more efficient than us, because they're doing a job which is not easier, but which is different. As far as you don't work for fossil energies, you cannot have this responsibility. But I think you have even more responsibility than us, because you can do this because we are there. And it's not to put pressure on you. It's not to stress you even more. You were stressed before entering in this room, just because we have a common responsibility. There is no the right person and the wrong person. There are all those willing to change things for the benefit of the planet, for the benefit of the stakeholders. And any fight will be, by definition, counterproductive. Some figures, you know, in Total, we just, that's why I know it, we just went through it when we were discussing the budget recently for 2014. The R&D budget of Total, pure R&D, not technology, which is usually part of all the new development we are doing, and where we, thanks to this learning curve and everything, we bring new technologies, pure R&D, including CapEx, OpEx, which means investment and operating expenses, is more than 1 billion euro per year. It's a huge amount. And talking with Jean-François Minster, who is our director scientifique, I know he made a presentation today. He was reminding us that today, if we cannot spend more, it's not because we don't have the money, it's because we cannot do more, because we are lacking of ideas, lacking of pilots, lacking of people like you. So we need you. At the same time, my message was also to say, be careful on cost. And it's good, Jean-François, I don't know where you are. Yes, in the dark. It's good to say that, okay, we could spend more if we could. Yes, but 1 billion is enough for the time being. Because, I mean, at the end, who's paying for this? The consumer. Is the consumer ready to accept any price, any cost? No. And that's where, again, the transition needs to be soft. It needs to be soft between those who consider that everything is green, those who consider that anything is only growth and profit, and those who are just suffering of having to pay for the result of the two, and especially the fact that if you fight the result of the two, which means fight, no synergies, no intelligence, will be more expensive. And we cannot do this, because we are a company. Total is a company. Total has to deliver value. When I want to be not provocative, but just pragmatic, which means provocative, but pragmatic, and a little bit provocative, you say the first, after security, the first sustainability of a company like Total is making profit. Why? Because with no profit, we cannot do anything. Without profit, no research, no development, no project, no additional production, no investment in LightSail Energy. We'll have to leave this poor Bill Gates alone. I promise I will not make any joke on him. So I will not. I will keep this for you tonight. But that will be my last message for the same reason, not to be too long. What's important at the end is by definition diminishing the print of our, I would say, activities on the planet. But diminishing in a way where we can not only survive, which will be just stupid, we can be able to make it in a positive way, profitable way, and proud of what we're doing. I like that to have our teams proud of what they do, because it's not always easy. We are in countries which are extremely sensitive. It's not Halifax, it's not Paris, it's not the Silicon Valley, but that's where the oil and gas is. It's Yemen and many other parts of the world. And those people, they also work for getting access to energy for most people. That's our role. Now, we cannot do it without thinking of, yes, we have a responsibility of making it cleaner. And I can assure you, because the best way to have you here is not to use you as you see what we can do when we are helping people to do, is to have you as a witness of what it is to share a responsibility in front of the public opinion, but more on this, in front of the next generation. You are the next generation. I am not anymore, but I am part of the same goal, making our life better if we can do it together in a sensitive way. Never forget that it's also part of our business model, that cost and profit are needed, and are needed to do it in a better way. So I just wanted to end this presentation, which was not a presentation today, but a message. I hope again that this day has been successful and helping a lot of us to understand what are the challenges, but even more than we all are in the same boat, I will never insist more than this, that everything being based on confrontation has no value, even if sometimes we have to do it. And again, because you are here tonight with your light sail, with your nice shoes, thank you for this, not for the shoes, maybe the shoes too, but thank you for your presence, thank you for your help. I like to say that sometimes we need to be helped in helping people. That will be my last words for tonight. Thank you for all the participants. Thank you for the Total participants and all the efforts you are making to make this company cleaner and better. And thank you for those who not automatically believe that we are doing this as much as we can. Thanks for understanding that at least we are working for the same goal, bringing cleaner energy in an acceptable way to our customers. Thank you very much.